Good evening. Vice President J.D. Vance just confirmed what everyone watching Geneva talks suspected. Iran is not yet willing to acknowledge some of President Trump's red lines. Not yet willing. Some of Trump's red lines. That's diplomatic language, meaning Iran has explicitly rejected multiple core American demands, including uranium enrichment limits, ballistic missile restrictions, and proxy force defunding. Iran came to Geneva, sat through 3.5 hours of indirect talks mediated by Oman, and walked out refusing to accept the fundamental requirements Trump established for any acceptable nuclear agreement. And simultaneously, Russia declared its readiness to accept Iran's enriched uranium while Russian corvette Stoiky conducts joint naval drills with Iranian forces potentially in the vicinity of USS Abraham Lincoln, positioned just 240 kilometers from Iran with 800 daily strike capacity ready to execute. This is the nightmare scenario American strategists have feared for decades. Great power. Russia actively siding with regional adversary Iran against American military pressure, transforming what should be manageable regional confrontation into potential World War III through superpower collision. Iran rejected Trump's red lines. Russia is backing that rejection through uranium storage offer that undermines American pressure and through naval presence that risks U.S.-Russian military engagement. An American fleet sits 240 kilometers away with overwhelming force ready to strike the moment Trump gives the order. Senator Lindsey Graham, just back from Israel, says the decision on strikes is weeks, not months away. Analysts warns Trump is closer to major war than most Americans realize, and it could begin very soon. The rejection is complete. The Russian backing is active. The fleet is positioned. And the strike capability of 800 sorties daily means when Trump orders execution, Iran's nuclear facilities, missile arsenals, and regime infrastructure face obliteration within days, regardless of Russian support that cannot stop what American technological superiority delivers. Iran rejected the deal. Russia sided with them, but the U.S. fleet is ready, and 240 kilometers is point-blank range for carrier-based strike aircraft that Iran's Russian-backed defenses cannot stop. Let me start with Iran's rejection of Trump's red lines, because understanding what Iran refused reveals why military action becomes inevitable. Vice President Vance stated Iran is not yet willing to acknowledge some of Trump's red lines. This phrase contains multiple admissions of diplomatic failure. Not yet willing means Iran is currently refusing and may refuse permanently, with no guarantee future talks produce different result. Some of means Iran is rejecting multiple American demands, not just one issue they might compromise on. Trump's red lines are non-negotiable American requirements, including complete uranium enrichment transparency allowing unlimited inspections, real limits on ballistic missile program preventing weapons threatening Israel and American bases, and dismantling of proxy network funding Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and Iraqi militias. These are what Netanyahu called his 4 demands: all uranium out, zero enrichment capability, missile limits, and axis of terror torn down. And Iran's rejection of these red lines is explicit, not implicit. During Geneva talks, Iranian negotiators refused to discuss missiles at all, claiming their defensive capabilities unrelated to nuclear negotiations. Iran demanded sanctions relief before making nuclear concessions rather than simultaneous reciprocal steps. And Iran insisted negotiations be limited to nuclear program only, excluding missiles and proxies entirely. So Iran's position is, we'll talk about maybe limiting some nuclear activities if you lift all sanctions first, but we absolutely will not discuss missiles or proxies under any circumstances. That's comprehensive rejection of Trump's framework requiring all 3 elements addressed simultaneously. And Vance's confirmation that Iran won't acknowledge these red lines is diplomatic preparation for military action, telling American public and international community that administration tried diplomacy, but Iranian refusal made force necessary. And Vance added critically that Trump administration has many tools to make sure Iran doesn't get nuclear weapon, which is explicit statement that military force prevents Iranian nuclear capability when diplomacy fails. Many tools means Trump isn't limited to one option. America has carrier strike groups providing 800 daily sorties. America has Israeli coordination where F-35I Adir jets with extended range can hit any Iranian target. America has bunker buster bombs penetrating underground facilities Iran is desperately trying to bury. America has cyber weapons disrupting Iranian command and control. America has special operations forces capable of sabotage and direct action. And America has economic strangulation through oil export interdiction cutting regime revenue to zero. But primary tool given military positioning is overwhelming air power, destroying Iranian nuclear infrastructure comprehensively. 800 daily strike capacity from fleet 240 kilometers away means American aircraft hit multiple target sets simultaneously over sustained campaign lasting weeks if necessary. Natanz enrichment facility destroyed day 1. Fordo underground site penetrated with bunker busters day 2. Isfahan uranium conversion facility eliminated day 3. Iraq heavy water reactor struck day 4. And missile production facilities, storage bunkers, and command centers systematically destroyed over following weeks until Iran's threatening capabilities are comprehensively degraded regardless of Russian support that cannot stop American precision weapons delivered by stealth aircraft Russian radars cannot reliably track. Vance saying Trump has many tools is confirming military option is primary response to Iranian rejection of red lines. But Russia declaring readiness to accept Iran's enriched uranium creates strategic complication that could undermine entire American pressure campaign. Kremlin announced Russia is ready to accept Iran's enriched uranium, providing Tehran with external storage option for nuclear material. This is devastating counter to American strategy because American pressure works by forcing binary choice, surrender nuclear program or face military destruction, eliminating program by force. But Russian uranium offer creates third option. Preserve enriched uranium by shipping it to Russia before American strikes occur. Iran enriches uranium to 90% weapons grade. Before strikes, ships material to Russia. American bombs destroy Iranian enrichment facilities, but enriched uranium sits safely in Russian storage beyond American reach. After strikes, Iran appears to surrender by having no domestic nuclear capability. Sanctions get lifted. Iran rebuilds economy and infrastructure. Then Russia quietly returns enriched uranium years later. And Iran reconstitutes nuclear weapons using preserved material American strikes couldn't eliminate because Russia protected it. This escape route makes even comprehensive military operations incomplete because the most critical element, weapons-grade uranium, survives through great power intervention. And Russia making this offer simultaneously with Iranian rejection of Trump's red lines is Moscow deliberately undermining American coercion by giving Tehran way to preserve nuclear capability, even if military strikes destroy facilities. This is Russia actively siding with Iran against American interests, which transforms regional conflict into great power confrontation. And Russian naval forces conducting joint drills with Iran near American fleet creates direct military engagement risk between nuclear superpowers. Russian corvette Stoiky docked in Iranian port and is conducting joint naval exercises with Iranian forces potentially in vicinity of USS Abraham Lincoln. This means Russian warship is operating in same waters as American carrier strike group conducting strike preparation operations 240 kilometers from Iran. And joint drills aren't symbolic friendship gesture. They're military exercises practicing coordinated operations, which in current context means preparing for scenarios involving conflict with American forces. Iranian small boats practice swarming tactics. Russian corvette practices providing targeting data or defensive coverage. Combined forces practice communication and coordination. And all of this happens in waters where American carrier is positioned for imminent strike operations against Iranian targets. The risk is catastrophic. American strikes on Iranian facilities might unavoidably engage Iranian naval forces conducting joint operations with Russian vessels. American destroyer fires on Iranian attack boats threatening American ships. Russian corvette is in formation with those boats. American missiles hit Russian vessel. Russia claims American attack on their forces. Moscow demands American withdrawal. Washington refuses. And conventional military engagement between nuclear powers begins with neither willing to back down because American credibility requires destroying Iranian nuclear program, while Russian credibility requires protecting their Iranian ally. This is how World War III starts, not through intentional decision, but through escalation spiral, where tactical military actions create strategic confrontation nobody wanted, but everyone is committed to not losing once it begins. And U.S. fleet being positioned 240 kilometers from Iran with 800 daily strike capacity proves American response to Iranian rejection, and Russian backing is overwhelming force ready to execute. 240 kilometers is 150 miles, which is extremely close in carrier aviation terms. F/A-18 Super Hornets and F-35C Lightning IIs can reach Iranian targets from this distance in minutes, not hours. And 800 daily strike capacity means American carriers plus land-based aircraft in region can generate 800 combat sorties per day sustained over weeks. That's not deterrence posture, that's attack configuration where overwhelming force is positioned to hit multiple target sets, simultaneously destroying Iranian capabilities faster than they can respond or reconstitute. Day one might see 200 sorties against air defenses and command centers. Day 2, another 200 against nuclear facilities. Day 3, 200 more against missile sites. Day 4, hitting naval bases and IRGC installations. And this sustained 800 daily tempo continues for weeks until comprehensive degradation of Iranian military is achieved. Iran's defenses cannot stop this, even with Russian support. Iranian Air Force is obsolete 1970s aircraft. Iranian air defenses are 1960s systems that cannot track F-35 stealth fighters. And Russian corvette conducting drills provide zero meaningful defensive capability against American carrier air wings that could destroy that corvette in opening hours of conflict if it threatens American operations. So Russian backing of Iran is politically significant, but militarily irrelevant because Russian forces in region are token presence incapable of stopping what American technological superiority and overwhelming numbers deliver when strikes begin. Meanwhile, Senator Graham's assessment that U.S. decision on strikes is weeks, not months away, provides specific timelines showing how close military action actually is. Graham visited Israel day before fresh Geneva talks, and upon return stated strike decision is weeks, not months. Weeks, not months means days to potentially 4 to 6 weeks maximum, not the months or years of diplomatic engagement previous administrations pursued. And Graham isn't speculating. He's senior Republican senator close to Trump administration with access to classified briefings on military planning. His assessment reflects actual Pentagon timeline where operational preparation is complete, forces are positioned, targets are identified, and execution awaits only political decision about timing. That political decision depends on several factors. First, exhausting diplomatic cover through Geneva talks showing America tried peaceful resolution, Iran rejected. Second, coordinating with Israel on combined operation timing. Third, ensuring international support or at minimum non-opposition from key allies. And fourth, managing American domestic politics around decision to initiate major military operation. But all of these are political considerations about when to strike, not whether to strike, because Graham's weeks, not months assessment reveals decision principle has been made and timeline is compressed to final preparation phase. And Graham added that Ayatollah staying in power would be strategic victory for Iran, meaning American objective isn't just destroying nuclear facilities, but achieving regime change, eliminating government that would reconstitute nuclear program with Russian help after strikes. This is most ambitious military objective, making strikes even more comprehensive and sustained than simple counter-proliferation campaign. And analysis warning, Trump is closer to major war than most Americans realize, confirms public is unprepared for imminent military operations. Multiple sources report Trump administration is closer to major war in Middle East than most Americans realize, and it could begin very soon. Very soon means days to weeks, consistent with Graham's timeline. And most Americans don't realize how close this is because media coverage focuses on diplomatic process in Geneva rather than military preparation happening simultaneously. But professionals watching force positioning know the indicators. 2 carriers in region providing 800 daily strikes, fighter jets flooding regional bases, intelligence assets tracking Iranian targets in real time, strike packages developed for multiple scenarios, weapons loaded and aircraft ready for immediate launch upon order, and senior officials like Vance confirming Iran rejected red lines while Trump has many tools to prevent nuclear weapon. All of this points to imminent operation that begins when political decision is made, which Graham says is weeks, not months away. An American public discovering they're at war with Iran, possibly involving confrontation with Russian forces protecting Iranian assets, will be shocking because diplomatic theater in Geneva created impression that peaceful resolution was still possible when military planning had already moved to execution phase. But Iran's behavior during talks proves regime is not serious about avoiding military confrontation through diplomatic surrender. Iran closes Strait of Hormuz during Geneva talks for first time in 40 years. Iran accelerates burial of suspected nuclear facilities while claiming not to want weapons. Iran's president asks what language should we use to say we don't want nuclear weapons while satellites show weapons program advancement. Iran declares missiles non-negotiable, knowing that's American red line. Iran demands sanctions relief before nuclear concessions, inverting the sequencing America requires. And Iran expresses upbeat assessment after talks that produced no substantive progress. This is regime conducting theater for international audience while actual behavior reveals preparation for confrontation, not peace. And Trump's team sees through this completely. Vance saying red lines not acknowledged confirms Trump won't accept Iranian games. Graham saying weeks, not months, shows urgency overriding extended diplomatic theater. And fleet positioning 240 kilometers away with 800 daily strikes proves American response to Iranian rejection is overwhelming force ready to execute when Trump gives order that Graham says is weeks away. And Russia's active support for Iran through uranium offer and naval drills doesn't change American military calculus because Russian forces in region are insufficient to prevent American strikes. Russian corvette is token presence. Russian uranium storage offer undermines pressure long-term but doesn't prevent strikes short-term because uranium can be destroyed in Iranian facilities before it's shipped to Russia. And American strikes can include Russian corvette as target if it threatens American operations, with Trump calculating that Putin won't escalate to nuclear confrontation over one corvette in Persian Gulf when Russian vital interests aren't at stake. This is high-risk strategy, but Trump has demonstrated willingness to call nuclear powers bluffs through Venezuela operation that risked confrontation with Cuba and Nicaragua's Russian-backed allies. Trump ordered Caracas strikes despite potential for escalation. Maduro was captured, and predicted escalation didn't materialize. Trump is applying same logic to Iran operation. Russia will protest. Russia will condemn. Russia will maybe impose minor costs, but Russia won't risk nuclear war over Iranian regime that isn't worth Russian survival. So Russian backing of Iran is geopolitical complication but not military obstacle preventing American strikes from achieving objective of degrading Iranian capabilities comprehensively. And the fundamental strategic reality is that Iran's rejection of Trump's red lines combined with Russian backing creates a situation where military force becomes necessary to prevent Iranian nuclear weapon because diplomatic pressure cannot succeed when great power provides escape route. If Iran could keep enriched uranium safe in Russia, if Iran could rebuild with Russian technical assistance after strikes, if Iran could sustain regime economically through Russian partnership despite American sanctions, then any deal Iran signs is temporary pause, not permanent solution. And temporary pause where Iran preserves capability is strategic defeat for America because threat returns years later potentially with Russian military protection, making future preventive action even more difficult. So Trump faces choice, except that Iran will get nuclear weapon eventually through Russian-backed attrition of American resolve, or strike now while American military superiority is overwhelming and Russian presence is token, accepting risks of escalation, but achieving objective of comprehensive degradation, preventing Iranian nuclear capability for generation. And Vance's statement that Trump has many tools combined with Graham's weeks, not months timeline reveals Trump has chosen the second option. Strike now, degrade comprehensively, accept escalation risks, achieve objective. And the fleet 240 kilometers away with 800 daily strikes is positioned to execute that decision when Trump's political timeline says the moment has arrived for military action, ending Iranian nuclear threat regardless of Russian support that proved politically significant but militarily insufficient to prevent American overwhelming force from succeeding. Iran rejected Trump's red lines. Russia sided with Iran through uranium offer and naval drills. But U.S. fleet sits 240 kilometers away with 800 daily strike capacity ready to execute comprehensive degradation of Iranian capabilities. Senator Graham says weeks, not months. VP Vance says red lines unmet but tools available. Analysis says closer to war than Americans realize. And Russian backing complicates but doesn't prevent American military success because technological superiority and overwhelming force positioned at 240 kilometers creates operational advantage. Russian corvette and uranium storage offer cannot overcome when American bombs start falling on Iranian facilities that rejection of red lines made inevitable targets. The rejection is complete, the backing is active, the fleet is ready, and strike decision is weeks away.